When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject: nesting. User: Xtermin8R. Posted February 16th, 1996.
I bought the house because it was cheap. That's how these things always start, right? You see a place out in the country, paint peeling, porch sagging, grass tall enough to hide a whole herd of deer, and you think, yeah, I can fix this. I can make this mine. It'll be a dream. You tell yourself it's just old bones and hard work. You don't think about what might already be living there. Look, I was tired of the city, tired of the noise, the stink, the neighbors whose TVs were always too damn loud. So when I found the listing for a century-old farmhouse sitting on 5 acres of dirt in the middle of nowhere, I didn't hesitate. The real estate agent even warned me, said it'd been empty for years, said people complained about critters in the walls. I didn't care. I figured I'd been through worse. Hell, I grew up in a trailer with holes in the floor big enough for possums to crawl through. I could handle a few mice. First week was quiet. I spent my days cleaning, tearing up old carpet, airing out rooms that smelled like mothballs and mildew. At night, I'd drink a beer on the porch and listen to the cicadas buzzing in the trees. It was peaceful. For a while, I even began to think I'd done the right thing. But then the noises started. It was faint at first, just a tick, tick, tick echoing through the hall. I wrote it off as mice or squirrels nesting somewhere in the attic. But then one night I put my ear to the plaster wall and swore I could hear breathing. Slow, wet, like something big trying not to be noticed. A few days later, I found the first one. I was up in the attic ripping out old insulation when I spotted it crouched in the corner, glossy black, legs folded tight against its body like some demonic insect praying to its god. Its tail curled over its back, twitching slightly, dripping a clear fluid that hissed when it hit the wood. I froze, but it didn't. It darted toward me so fast I barely had time to react. I swung the hammer I was holding and smashed it flat. The sound it made was like stepping on a grape wrapped in a tin foil, wet and sharp. Whatever it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before. Too many legs, too many joints. I thought I'd killed it, but the next morning, there were 2. They sat on the kitchen counter, perfectly still, tails flicking in unison. When I stepped into the room, they didn't scurry like normal bugs. They watched me. Their bodies shifted slightly, legs clicking against the wood. I grabbed a broom and slammed it down hard. One of them darted away, but I caught the other. Its body split open and sprayed me with some oily black fluid that smelled like a mix of kerosene and burned hair. that was when I realized I wasn't dealing with anything natural. I went to war. I bought traps, poison, boric acid, everything I could find. I filled every crack, every corner, every crawl space with chemicals, but it didn't work. The next morning, I found one of them sitting inside a glue trap, staring at me like it was mocking me. It hadn't even struggled. Its tail twitched once, and then it cut itself free, leaving behind a smear of black ooze. That night, I heard them in the walls again, scratching, clicking, tapping in rhythm like they were communicating, so I tried fire. I doused the baseboards with kerosene and lit a match. Flames roared along the old wood, smoke billowed up, and I heard them scream. Not like animals, not like bugs, something higher pitched, like metal twisting in a vise. The smell was unbearable. Burnt meat and plastic. I thought I'd won, but the next night, I woke up to find one perched on my chest. Wasn't moving, just sitting there, watching me. I didn't move either. My heart hammered in my ears. Finally, I shot up, grabbed it, and flung it against the wall. It burst in a wet spray, leaving a streak of black across the plaster. That was it. I'd had enough. The next day, I found the fucking nest. It was in the basement, behind a loose panel near the old boiler. I pulled the wood back and saw a writhing mass of black bodies, all tangled together, legs scraping against each other, tails flicking in perfect rhythm. There must have been hundreds of them. Something inside me snapped. I ran upstairs, grabbed every gas can I had, and started pouring. The living room, the kitchen, the halls, I drenched them all. By the time I was done, I was coughing from the fumes. I stepped out onto the porch and pulled out my lighter. I hesitated for just a second. This was supposed to be my home, my fresh start, but then I lit it. The house went up fast. Flames shot through the windows. Smoke rolled thick and black into the sky. I heard them screaming again, louder this time, like they were dying, or maybe like they were calling for help. I stayed until the roof caved in and the fire burned down to embers. For a moment, I thought I won. But as I walked back to my truck, I noticed something on the windshield. A thin, black streak. It twitched once, and then it disappeared into the wiper blades.
Subject, code black. User, Jenny Lee 58. Posted, May 23, 1998.
I've been working night shifts at County General for 3 years now, and people ask me all the time how I do it. Staying awake in the small hours and walking those empty halls while the rest of the world sleeps. Truth is, it never really bothered me. At least, not until last week. Now, I can't close my eyes without seeing it. It started on a Tuesday, a slow night after the beds were empty. I was making my rounds in the south wing when I noticed one of the motion sensors flickering down the hall. Not unusual. The building's old and the electrical is spotty at best, but when I glanced up from my chart, I saw something standing over the exit sign. It was too dark to see details, but I could tell it was a man. Tall, shoulders almost brushing the ceiling tiles. He didn't move. "Sir," I called, "you can't be back here." No answer. I took a step closer and my stomach knotted. Something was wrong with the way he stood. Not slouched like most men, not stiff like security. He was angled somehow, like his limbs weren't put together right. I blinked and he was gone, just like that. I told myself it was my imagination, working too many doubles, too much caffeine, not enough sleep. But the next night, it happened again. I was restocking the supply closet when I felt it. That heavy weight, like someone was standing behind me. I turned and there it was again, standing at the end of the hall, blacker than the shadows around it. The light above it flickered once, and for a split second I saw a hint of a face. Empty sockets where eyes should have been, a mouth stretched into a grin too wide and too sharp. I slammed the door shut and I locked it. After that, it started showing up more often. In the reflection of a window as I pushed a wheelchair down the hall, in the darkened break room, standing in the corner while I heated up coffee. Once I caught it in the mirror of a patient's bathroom, crouched on the counter like it was waiting for me to notice. I stopped drinking coffee, stopped looking in mirrors. I tried telling one of the other nurses, but she laughed it off. "It's just night shift paranoia," she said. "Your brain's playing tricks on you." Maybe. But then, Mr. Carver saw it too. Mr. Carver was in room 207. An old man with a failing heart, a sweet guy, liked to tell stories about his time in the Navy. I was checking his vitals around 3 a.m. when he grabbed my wrist. "There's someone in the corner," he whispered. I looked and my blood ran cold. It was there, pressed into the shadows like it belonged there, head cocked slightly, watching. When I turned on the light, it vanished. Mr. Carver died later that night. Last night was the worst. I was walking past the ICU when all the lights went out. Every damn one. The hum of the machines cut off, and for a moment the whole hospital felt dead. And then I heard it. Breathing. Long. Slow, wet breaths coming from somewhere down the hall. I grabbed my little pen light and flicked it on, the weak beam cutting a narrow path through the dark. It was there, closer than it had ever been. Its shoulders were so wide they nearly scraped the walls. Its arms hung too low, fingers brushing the tile, and its face, God help me, its face was wrong. It grinned at me, and I swear the air got heavier. I ran. I don't know how I made it to my car. I don't even remember clocking out. I'm sitting in my driveway now, hands shaking so bad I can barely type this. I keep seeing it in my rearview mirror, standing in the middle of the street, grinning, waiting for me to go back.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.